Number 19, paper 1, question 6. Now we're told f of x is equal to 4 cosine of 1/2 x, or x over 2 plus 1. We want to find the values for which f of x is greater than this. Okay, so I'm going to start by saying this is an equality, although really we know that 4 cosine of x over 2 plus 1 is greater than 2 root 2 plus 1. That's what we're looking for. So the plus 1's cancel out. So 4 cosine x over 2 is greater than 2 root 2. The cosine of x over 2 is greater than 2 root 2 over 4. Does that make sense so far? And this is 1 over root 2 or root 2 over 2? So far so good? Now, when is this the case? There's two different ways you could do this. If I'm solving this, you could use the unit circle. We could also, so cosine, just in general, cosine of x over 2 is equal to 1 over root 2. And here you really need to remember your unit circle.
Is it 350 degrees?
This is when x over 2 is equal to pi over 4. And here's our unit circle. Right? Pi over 4. Here cosine is negative, here cosine is negative, and 7 pi over 4. So pi over 4 plus 2k pi. And 7 pi over 4 plus 2k pi. Which means that x is equal to 2 pi over 4, so pi over 2, plus 4k pi, and it's equal to 7 pi over 2 plus 4k pi. Does this make sense so far? At this step right here, I solved for my angle, and now I just multiplied everything by 2 right there.
Yeah.
All right.
And for the k?
Well, the k's normally are integers, so let's specify that. But because specifically our range right here, our domain, sorry, is 0 to 6 pi, and k can't be negative, it's only going to be positive. Now looking at this, right here, in pi over 4, this is 1 over root 2. This is the cosine. I mean, frankly, the sine is also 1 over root 2. And here, the cosine is minus 1 root 2, that's the sine, xy, that's the cosine. So cosine is 1 root 2, and the sine is negative 1 root 2. All right. And we're asking when it's greater. You want to be a little careful here if we're using the unit circle, because here, what's the cosine? What's the cosine right there? What's the cosine right here?
I'm there.
Yep. What's the cosine of 90 degrees? What's the cosine of this point? Or what's the cosine value? What are the coordinates of that point right there?
In pi or in degrees? No, in degrees.
What's the cosine of 90 degrees, which is equal to what?
Oh, it's 1. Minus 1. No, 1.
Well,
It's 1, 0.
It's 0, 1.
0, 1.
It's 0, 1. The cosine of pi over 2 is equal to 0. The sine of pi over 2 is equal to 1.
Okay, yeah.
So from here to here, cosine is less than pi over 2. We're really only interested in the sections where it's greater than pi over 2.
Okay.
So we want this part right here and this part right here. And we just want it from 0 to 6 pi. So it's true, if I was just going to use this thing, from 0 to pi over 4, and then from 8 pi over 4 to 9 pi over 4, and then from, well, then I would stop, because I would get to 13, wait, it's 4, 8, 12 pi over 4 is 3 pi. Okay, so I'm still good. 6 pi just is 4 circles, and then I would stop at 3 full circles. But it's x over 2, which, if I was thinking about it graphically,
Mm-hmm.
what does that do to my period? Do we remember what the period of the cosine normally is? I was gonna graph
Was it
this.
2 pi? No,
It's
It
2
is?
pi
okay.
over b. And here our
Yeah.
b is 1/2, right?
So it's gonna be 2 pi over 1/2.
And 2 pi over 1/2 is equal to 4.
Yeah.
So the period is 4
Mm-hmm.
pi.
Yeah.
4 pi. Which means that this is really only gonna happen, so here we had from 0 to, instead of pi over 4, it's now pi over 2.
Yeah.
And then we go all the way once, right? So now this has become 0 to pi over 2.
Mm-hmm.
This has now become 4 pi,
4 pi.
and then it's gonna be 4 pi to 4 pi plus pi over 2. And then there's also this little bit right here. So,
Mm-hmm.
from 0 to pi over 2,
Yeah.
then from 7 over 2 pi, right, which is not quite 4 pi, to 4 pi,
Mm-hmm.
then from 4 pi to 9 pi over 2,
Mm-hmm.
and then by the time we come back here, we're past 6 pi, because 6 pi would be here if it took us, if this was 4 pi, this would become 2 pi then.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm taking 4 pi because of this bit right here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I would say then that this is true. The values for x is that x would be from 0 to pi over 2, and 7 pi over 2 to 9 pi over 2. And I think we would stop there, because afterwards, this gets me to, right, again,
Mm-hmm.
assuming now my period is 2 pi, this would be 0 to pi over 2 right here.
Yeah.
Then this would be 7 pi over 2
Mm-hmm.
to 8 pi over 2, which is 4 pi.
Yeah.
Then 8 pi over 2 to 9 pi over 2. And then by the time I get here, I've done my 6 pi.
All right.
If now it takes me 4 pi to go across.
Would we need to show the unit circle on the exam for getting all the points?
It's a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, you could show perhaps some of these things right here,
Mm-hmm.
these calculations right here, seem like
Yeah.
they'd be all right to me. Would this work in particular, the unit circle? You could also graph this, right? If
Yeah.
we're gonna graph all this, we could kind of take all this, and so you could resize, move this here. And if we're gonna graph this, we'd take a line right here. And we're gonna look for when cosine of x over 2 is greater than 1 root 2. So I'm just gonna declare that this line right here, this is right here, y equals 1 root 2. Now what's the max for cosine?
The max for cosine.
What's the max? The graph of cosine reaches the max at what value?
I don't remember.
It's at 1,
Mm-hmm.
right? When x equals 0, y equals 1. And the minimum is really at minus 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Now my full period is 4 pi. So this is now 6 pi. And now it's useful if you kind of remember,
It's gonna be something like this. 9 pi over 2. Well, nicer than this, but.
well, careful there, because this is the line we want to go over, right?
Mm-hmm.
So really you've got a 0 here, right? Pi over 2, cosine of pi over 2 is 0.
Mm-hmm.
Go like this, up.
Oh yeah, that's true. Forget the 0.
Cosine of 3 pi over 2 is, my lord, I'm not doing this very prettily. All right, that's one, damn. All right, you know what, this may not be. It's one period,
Yeah.
and then right here, it's the second period.
Yeah.
So then from this would be pi over 2,
Mm-hmm.
this would be 7 pi over 2, this is 9 pi over 2. So you could just, these are the values for which the cosine, for which 4 cosine x over 2 plus 1 are greater than 1 root 2, which is the simplification we got over here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think either one of these will work just
Mhm.
fine and dandy for the IB.
Okay.
You want to try and make